Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'm going to be discussing the furore over Keir Starmer's statement about getting children back to school in the next few weeks. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, at the end of the day, Labour leader Keir Starmer has said a thing. Of course, all the Corbynistas have come out attacking him because they attack him over absolutely everything. It's quite ironic, I have to say. Those who defended and still defend Corbyn, who gave the party the worst election results in history, you see on a regular basis, including this weekend, saying how outrageous it is and how useless Keir Starmer is that Labour are not 20 points ahead, when Labour have never been ahead with Corbyn in charge. But it is what it is. Now, Keir Starmer has said something regarding getting children back to school, as schools are supposed to be reopening this September. I'm going to tell you what it is, and I'm going to explain why. I mean, I wouldn't have said it. I think it was imprudent to say it, but I am going to explain the political reasons why he has said it. And it's very much in line with the Brexit stance he took. I think it's risky, however. But I am going to explain why I think politically he's made the statement, as well as why those who are attacking Starmer for making the statement are hypocrites. So the statement is, he's tweeted out, my message to the Prime Minister, I don't just want all children back at school next month, I expect them back at school. No ifs, no buts, no equivocation. Now, before I explain why taking a statement like that has the potential to get Labour a lot of political capital and to damage the Conservative Party, which at the end of the day is the job of the Leader of the Opposition, to damage the party politically that is in government. People trying to criticise it, the criticism sounds fairly sound, because they're saying that, well, we should only be saying that if it's safe. And then you're thinking, well, of course it can't be safe because there's not going to be any social distancing in schools. Students are not going to be asked to wear face masks, all the rest of it. So how can it possibly be safe for children to go back to school? You're calling for an unsafe situation. However, that is hypocrisy, and it's also wrong. Scientists are not saying that it is not safe to open schools back up again. Obviously, if you open schools back up again, and you're not getting people to wear face masks, which you should, but if you're not, and there's not going to be social distancing, which there can't be, then inevitably the rate of infection goes up. Absolutely it goes up. But you have to bear in mind that countries that have actually done well when it comes to their COVID handling have had children go back to school. People attacking Starmer for saying that, oh, you shouldn't be calling for this. The massive amount of damage that there is to our young people from not being able to get back to school is horrendous. And that is hitting the most disadvantaged kids. You absolutely have to call for people to go back to school. What the call should be on, what the focus should be on, is the safety aspect of it. Now, here is what scientists are saying about the situation. They're not saying it's not safe to open schools. What they're saying is, you cannot safely open schools whilst you have these other parts of the economy fully open as well. What scientists have advised is not keeping the schools closed. They have advised closing things like pubs. So it's wrong and it's hypocritical to attack Starmer for this. But a lot of the people attacking Starmer for this, as I say, are those who will attack him for everything. If he were to win the next general election and become Prime Minister, they'll still attack him. They will still attack him. If he puts in place good, solid socialist policies, as I fully expect, they will still attack him because it won't be as good as Corbyn would have done. These people are hopefully increasingly irrelevant. The reason why I get upset at these people is because they're also having an effect on more reasonable people as well. But that is what it is. So why has Starmer done it? And, why am I saying that I wouldn't have said it? The reason he said it is, I will cast your minds back to Prime Minister's questions for the past month or two before Parliament broke for summer. Boris Johnson kept bringing up the issue of schools constantly. He wasn't asked about schools, but he would bring it back to schools anyway, because he thought that he had identified a weakness in Starmer, because Starmer was concerned about the fact that there wasn't any work going on in making schools safe. So Boris Johnson every week kept saying, challenging Starmer to say that schools are safe, say that schools are safe. We want our kids back in schools. And even at the end of it, before they broke for summer, when Keir Starmer had to point out, I mean, you keep saying you want kids back in schools, and yet you've opened up pubs before schools. I mean, that's a bit odd, isn't it? Why haven't you prioritised schools there? This is something that you can attack Boris Johnson for, because he made such a play of opening schools, such a massive play of it being so important to open up the schools, which he didn't, but he's going to in a couple of weeks. And we're in the scenario where we know that opening up schools without closing something else down is going to send the rate of infection skyrocketing. We already know it's above 1. Of course it's above 1 because it's increasing again. And it's not just a little wibbly wobbly blip. It's increasing on another upward curve. It is going to become exponential again. And that means that the government have to make a really tough call. They've got 3 options, exactly 3 options. 1, you open up the schools, but you close down something to compensate, like pubs. That's what scientists are advising. That would be the most sensible course of action, because it's the one that's backed by scientific experts and medical experts. From the point of view of the economy, however. Now, closing schools down is bad for the economy as well, because it means that parents have to look after the kids and they can't go to work. But just the impact on the sort of people that tend to support the Conservatives and support Boris Johnson, particularly those on the far right, they will not take kindly to pubs being closed down. It'll be a blow against freedom, for example, even though they can get pissed in their own home. It'll be a blow against freedom, and it will be, mollycoddling, and it'll be nonsense, and the conspiracy theories will come back about, COVID's not even real, all the rest of it. So that's politically damaging for Boris Johnson to do that. Even though, and I don't know, even though it could be argued that opening schools will give as large or larger economic boost than with pubs, and it could be argued, getting more people back to work because their kids are in school is better for the economy than pubs. I don't know that. It may or may not be true. I'm just trying to emphasise that there is an economic cost to having schools closed as well. To say nothing of the future economic costs, because we're not giving kids the right education. So they're going to be hit. We've had kids hit this year because of the bloody algorithm. We're going to have kids hit next year because they haven't been taught the stuff they need for the exams, even if the exams go ahead. The second option, is Boris Johnson can keep the pubs open but not open the schools. It's far too unsafe. We've got this second wave coming. Or whatever you want to call it, it's going up again. We better keep the schools closed. At which point, Starmer is gearing himself up for hammering Johnson. The reason why Starmer will have said this, I still think it's on balance imprudent, but the reason he'll have said it is because he believes, and he will know more about this because he'll be talking to MPs, he will be of the belief that Boris Johnson is seriously considering not opening schools up after all. Even though teachers like myself are all gearing up for going back, it could be the day before we're due to go back, they can suddenly say, no. In which case, Prime Minister's questions will be happening in a couple of weeks again, and he can say, hang on, Prime Minister. Well, he won't talk to the Prime Minister directly, he'll talk to the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I seem to recall the Prime Minister on a weekly basis banging on about how safe schools were and how we must get them open. And I have supported the government in this. I'm not taking a party political stance. I am trying to support the government. And yet he's now gone back on his own word, Mr. Speaker. What on earth is going on? It's for that. It's for opening that up. So that option will also be politically bad for Boris Johnson because although it's sort of, that'll also get his supporters against him. If he closes pubs down, his own natural supporters will rail against him. If he keeps schools closed, his own natural supporters, including in the media, will rail against him. His third option is he opens up schools and he keeps the pubs and everything else open. which will please his supporters, but will have a huge human cost. Now, it's for that third reason that I actually think that Starmer's statement is imprudent. I would not have made it. It's not because inevitably it's another stick for the nutters on the left. I don't like to say the far left or hard left as some do, because I myself, if we were to discuss politics with these people, like policies, what policies would you be in favour of? I would agree with these people on the vast majority of things, not Brexit, everything else. But at the same time, so the lunatic fringe. No one considers themselves a lunatic, do they? But yeah, so they, he's given them a stick to beat him with. At the same time, they'd beat him whatever he said. Because guaranteed, if he was calling for us to be a bit cautious about opening up schools, then they'd be beating him with the stick of, oh, what about disadvantaged kids who are not getting any education? So I'm not saying it's imprudent from the point of view of those hypocrites. They will just attack him for everything. Whatever he does, no matter how well he's doing in the polls, which he is doing, he's increasing his performance in the polls. So in terms of the public standing, he's doing better and better. They will always attack him. The reason I say it's imprudent is that third option. If Boris Johnson goes for the nuclear option of keeping everything open, and we end up with a very serious human cost to this, I'm sure Starmer will have thought about this. He's not a stupid man. But it seems to me there'll have to be some nifty political footwork in order to avoid tying himself to what will be seen as the cause of this massive increase in infections. I would have taken the line of the importance for kids, particularly disadvantaged kids, in being able to get access to education again and being able to resume their studies. And I would have put the emphasis on what is the Prime Minister going to do to reopen schools safely, and I'd have focused fully on that. Whereas here, the no ifs, no buts, no equivocation, I just think opens yourself up. I did see one person, for example, saying, well, I expect all MPs to return to Parliament. No ifs, no buts, no equivocation. Now, I could have pointed out that actually all MPs have returned to Parliament, except Parliament's on break at the moment. But they are actually all there. They're just not all in the debating chamber, and that's got nothing to do with Keir Starmer. That being said, it is the sort of opening that you leave yourself open to. So yeah, I think my view would be he's looking at that second option. He's looking at the possibility that Boris Johnson will either not open schools or will open them but then close them down again. Because at the moment the number of cases is clearly on an increase, but the number of deaths is not. That lags behind. If that starts to look bad again, Boris Johnson may close the schools down, and I think that Keir Starmer is positioning himself for easy attacks against Johnson for that. I just worry that it's not the best way of doing it. Like with everything else, however, the way I judge politicians in these situations, the way I judge Corbyn will be exactly the same way I judge Starmer. How is it playing in the public? Is it getting Labour back onto the road to power or moving them further away from it? That effectively depends upon the people of Britain and how they're going to poll. But my personal view is I wouldn't have done it. But let me know your thoughts anyway in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.